goes to the museum. My name is Andrea, and I love school. I love tests, I love homework, I love teachers, and teachers love me. Teacher's pet, AJ calls me. He thinks it's an insult, but I love it. Who wouldn't want to be the teacher's favorite? AJ, that's Sue. All he wants to be is class clown. He doesn't even care that he's gifted and talented. I love being gifted and talented. We're the only ones in the class, so we get to go on field trips. Just the two of us. Ooh, Ryan said this morning. AJ and Andrew are going to the art museum together. They must be in love. Well, of course we are. AJ just doesn't know it yet. When are you two getting married? Asked Michael. Never, yelled AJ. Ha, that's what he thinks. Remember to behave at the museum, warned Mr. Cooper. He looked at AJ when he said it. Teachers never look at me when they give warnings. AJ and I took our own tiny bus to the art museum. A man met us outside. He was really old, with his hair growing out of his ears. I'm the museum and director. He said, ooh, an director. In other words, a teacher. He was going to love me. The man led us inside very slowly. Excuse me, sir, I said. He didn't hear me. Excuse me, sir, I said louder. What's your name? Mr. Meeser, he answered. More like Mr. Geezer, said AJ. He started giggling. Shh, I told him. Cut it out. Mr. Meeser turned around. I thought he was going to frown at AJ, but he frowned at me. Mr. Meeser shuffled ahead. This painting was just donated to the museum, he said. Good thing they didn't pay for it, said AJ. It's just a bunch of dumb circles, I sighed. It's not just circles. It must mean something very deep and important. What's it called? AJ read the sign next to it. Just circles, he said. Ha! It got worse when AJ saw a statue. It's marked. He nagged, he said. No, it's nude, I corrected him. What's the difference? Said AJ. I can still see its spot. I am getting really annoyed. Arlo Jervis, I said. I like to call AJ by his real name, especially when I'm mad. It's good practice for when we're married. We're looking at fine art, and all you see is a butt. I didn't mean to, but I said but really loud. It echoed through the museum. Mr. Meeser gasped. Young lady, stop saying that. You're acting very immature. What? But, I said. I told you to stop saying that, said Mr. Meeser. AJ laughed so hard he fell down. Mr. Cooper said, one of you might misbehave. Mr. Meeser muttered, now I know who he meant. This was horrible. How could Mr. Meeser think I was the troublemaker? From now on, I had to be perfect. We went to the next room, and it was full of swords and shields. Tall suits of armor stood in a row. Cool, said AJ. Look, but don't touch, warned Mr. Meeser. He looked at me when he said it. At me. I took a deep breath to calm myself down. I felt something tickle my nose. The armor was awfully dusty. Ha, "Ah, ah," I said. "Achoo!" My sneeze knocked me off balance. I bumped into a suit of armor. Clang! It fell down. Clang! It knocked over the next suit of armor. Clang, 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 clang. All the armor crashed to the floor. "I am so sorry, Mr. Geezer," I cried. "I mean, Mr. Meezer." "That's it," he snapped. "I am sending you back to school with a note to your teacher." "No!" AJ tried to talk to me on the bus back to school. Look on the bright side, Andra. Now that Mr. Cooper will hate you. I'll stop calling your teacher's Pat. I love being called that. "You dumbhead," I shouted. At school, I went straight to Mr. Cooper. I unfolded the note. "Dear Mr. Cooper," I read out loud. "One of your students misbehaved at the museum today." I gulped. This was it. I started to read my name, and it was me, of course, yelled AJ. He ripped the note out of my hands and crumpled it up. "Oh, AJ," Mr. Cooper sighed. "I'm disappointed in you." "Oh, AJ," I sighed. "I love you, and now I'm sure you'd love me too." I didn't say it out loud, of course, but it was true. Why else would he save me like that? AJ was my knight in shining armor. Will AJ never admit he loves me? Will I always be Mr. Cooper's pet? Will I go back to the museum and follow Mr. Meezer for days until he makes me his teacher's pet too? Of course it will be easy. The end.